So today, if you're sitting here watching this as a newly minted commercial pilot and you're looking for the next step in your career, let me tell you why being a CFI might be right for you. Now, my CFI initial rating I got back in the tail end of 2021. After that, I was able to go on to get my CFII and later my multi-engine instructor as well pretty shortly after that. And I've been an instructor since then, so it's been almost 2 years. And in that time, let me tell you, there's just been some absolutely wonderful moments, some terrifying moments, and everything in between. The big overarching trend that I see a lot being a flight instructor is just when someone makes that connection, they get that aha moment, they get that light bulb above their head. That is what makes this job. And whether that's in the airplane or whether it's on the ground, it's just that feeling of that you know something, right? As flight instructors, we've gone through so much training, so much expense, so much time to be able to learn all of this knowledge, but now we have to take it and regurgitate it in a way that doesn't just show how much we know. They're paying us. They obviously know that we know more than they do, but we have to teach. We have to be able to explain these subjects, and we might have to explain them in such a way that maybe the student doesn't learn exactly the same way that we do. Now, in a larger school, there's generally enough instructors and enough different personality types, teaching types, learning types, where a student can get matched with an instructor that learns and teaches exactly the same way that they do. But in a smaller school, or if you're a freelance instructor, or even if the school is just packed full of students and they can't afford to switch instructors on them, it's really important to be able to learn how to teach in different ways to accommodate a bunch of different students. And it's such a great mental exercise to be able to do too. And it's so rewarding at the end of it because you're able to say, wow, not only do I understand this subject well enough to teach it, but I understand this subject well enough to teach it multiple different ways to accommodate more of my students. Now, in the airplane at first, it's definitely a little more complicated than on the ground. There's a lot of opportunities that we get while we're training to be a CFI to be able to teach people on the ground, whether that's one-on-one, whether it's from a PowerPoint, whether it's in a group guided discussion area, because it's on the ground, it's easy. The classroom space is more or less readily available, right? We can pair study with other folks, but getting into the airplane to teach, you're pretty much only doing when you are, getting trained by a CFI to get signed off for your initial ride, which in Part 61, there are no minimum hour requirements, which means that, you could be up there for 2-3 hours and be proficient in it and you're good to go. But just because you're proficient teaching to someone who already knows the information, like an examiner or like another CFI, or just because you're proficient and you're very good at landing the plane, or you're very good at landing the plane with another CFI, it's still totally different when you get a student in there for the first time. All these analogies that you worked out in your head to paint a picture, all these different types of verbiage that you use to teach, they go right out the window, right? You'll say something, the student will look at you like you have 3 heads because they have a different life experience than you. They haven't been in this industry as long as you have, and they have no idea what you're talking about. And so it kind of goes back to what I was talking about before of being able to explain things in a different way to accommodate multiple students. But of course, in the aircraft, you're having to do that while being a monitor of all the systems, while letting not letting the student flip the airplane upside down, especially when you get into stuff like landings. I've talked to multiple flight instructors that have said, man, if I could go back and give my first student their training for free, I would. And it's because you really are learning so much more in those first, even just couple hours of dual given than you have in your entire pilot career up until that point. And so it really is rewarding, again, to just see it click when a student really gets it, and when it hasn't been so long that you're just dragging them through a rating and they're frustrated and you're getting frustrated that they're frustrated, and it's just, if you can make it as succinct as possible and really get them to that finish line, maybe not of a rating, but just get them to the finish line of mastering landings, or get them to the finish line of really knocking out those steep turns out of the park. And just seeing that in your student is so gratifying, because now it's a weight off of their shoulders, it's a weight off of your shoulders, and you can move on to the next thing. And there's always something different around the corner. Now, I could talk forever about why I love being a CFI, but we'll leave it there for today. So if you're interested in becoming a CFI, check out the link in the description below. Don't forget to like and subscribe so you don't miss out on future videos.